What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the airport. Welcome back to a brand new video. We are here. We are back with a brand new video for you guys. And listen, the Eastern Conference playoffs are set, ladies and gentlemen, and we are the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference for the second time consecutive years. We are the 8th seed in the East. We finished up the regular season on a 2-game winning streak against Toronto and finish as a play-in team as the 8th seed, who is going to be playing against Philadelphia, the 76ers, who are the 7th seed. We're going to be playing against them in Philly on Wednesday, and that is going to be a very, very interesting matchup. I mean, I'm going to get into the breakdown of that. I have, kind of a soft preview. I'll make more of a actual matchup-based preview on, I think, Tuesday or Monday, but today is going to be a kind of a little bit of a breakdown, off the top of my head, what I know about the Sixers. I watch a lot of Sixers, and we're going to be talking about that matchup. We're going to be talking about my thoughts on the Miami Heat's seeding, as the 8th seed. What do I think about that? I'm disappointed. I can't lie. I'm happy we won tonight or won today, and we won the last game against Toronto, a team that we should be beating. Congrats to Toronto for probably having a top 6 pick in the draft. Yeah, I'm disappointed though, because we put ourselves in a position where we were dependent on other teams' performances, and that's just never a place you want to be in. We should have sealed our own fate. We lost 3 critical games, one against Philly, where we were up by 7 or 8 in the fourth quarter. We lost a game against Indiana where we were down by 20 at halftime, and same against Dallas, where we were down by 20 at halftime as well. And we had come back in both those games, but it was just too little too late. But those 3 games really, really are the reason for the Heat being this low in the standings. Now, if not for those 3 games, we would have been as high as maybe 4 or 5. So we only have ourselves to blame. At the end of the day, we were messing around all season, and we just never turned up against the good teams, and especially in big games. Indiana's not the best team, but Indiana, in that big game, they showed up and we didn't. And it's been like that consistently throughout the entirety of the season. In big games, when it matters most, this team, for some reason, this season has not turned up. And that's not something I'm used to saying about the Heat, but the good thing is they go into the postseason on a 2-game winning streak. There are some positives from today's game against Toronto. I'm very encouraged to see Jaime Jaquez getting his rhythm back and getting back into his groove. He's been playing well in the last couple of games. I'm also very intrigued by DeLon Wright and his play in the last game, and in this game. I do feel like DeLon Wright will be key. I think he should get some run in the playing game against Philly. If a player like a Maxey is having a really good game, DeLon Wright can potentially slow him down. So yeah, I think DeLon Wright, his play has been big over the past couple of games. There are some question marks with the Heat as far as their injury report and who's going to be playing, who's not going to be playing. It is still up in the air, the status of both Duncan Robinson and Terry Rozier, who had been the Heat starting backcourt for a while. And it's also a question mark as of today, the injury of Kevin Love, because he left the game halfway through the game with a left arm contusion or upper arm contusion. And that I don't think is going to hold him out for too long, or it might not even hold him out at all. But the Rozier and the Duncan Robinson injuries are the 2 that I am semi-concerned about. I'm not sure if the Heat are just resting them to bring them back on Wednesday, or if they're actually in danger of missing that playing game. I guess we'll just have to see in the coming days to see who's going to be in, who's going to be out. A ton of storylines added onto the Heat Sixers playing game. It's Jimmy against his former team. It's Kyle Lowry against his former team. Jimmy and Embiid are really good friends. It's a very, very good matchup, man. I truly believe that when fully healthy, these 2 teams are the number 2 and number 3 best teams in the East, and have been this season behind Boston. When fully healthy, I do think that these are 2 top 3 teams in the conference. The winner goes on to play the 2-seeded Knicks, who just won in overtime against Chicago. That game just now wrapped up, and yeah, that will be interesting because I would much rather play New York than play Boston. You know, and I would much rather win this playing game than potentially lose and then run the risk of losing again against the winner of Atlanta and Chicago, because any team can be beat in the NBA. This is not like a league where it's like, oh, there's zero chance of this team winning. Like, no, I mean, the favorite usually wins, but you know, we saw this with the Heat last year. They upset a lot of teams that were favored over them. And a team like Atlanta or Chicago, if you were to lose this playing game against Philly, Atlanta or Chicago would be raring to go against us, whoever wins that game, and they are very capable, and they both have beaten the Heat this season. So I truly believe it is in our best interest to get out of the play-in as soon as possible. And on top of that, if you look at the playoff seedings and the matchups, you would much rather play New York, who are banged up and without Julius Randle, than play Boston, who have been rolling and have been playing like the best team in the East all year. So that's what I would prefer. Not saying we can't beat Boston, but it's a lot easier, and you kind of set yourselves up to, if you beat New York, then you would play Milwaukee, the winner of Milwaukee and Indiana, and then you wouldn't have to worry about playing Boston until the Eastern Conference Finals. So, not saying we should avoid anybody, but it's in our best interest to win this game. You know, even if you don't want to talk about Boston, we don't want to lose this game, because then you have a risk of losing the second playing game as well. And it's like, then you have a team like Chicago, Atlanta, who are playing for house money, and it's like, that's when it's a dangerous game. You don't want to play that game. We did last year, and we were very close to losing that game. It took heroics from Max Strus and Jimmy Butler for us to win that game against Chicago last season, because we were down in that game. Alex Caruso was killing us. So yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. Couple of nuggets here and there against Philly. I expect Spoelstra to throw out zone a lot of zone, just because a team that has a very good guard like Tyrese Maxey, who can really fill it up against this team, and has had good games, 2 consecutive good games against the Heat, one in Philly, one back to Miami the next week. It's very hard to slow them down when Maxey gets going, because you already have to worry about Embiid. And the thing about Embiid that I think the Heat will do, I think they're going to send multiple bodies at Embiid. They're going to play zone. I think they're going to, blitz, trap. They're going to try to get the ball out of Embiid's hands. Maxey is the guy that they have to make sure that he doesn't get hot, because if Embiid and Maxey get hot, it's game over. If one of the two get hot, it's still very tough to beat them, because Maxey has shown that he can individually, without Embiid, beat the Heat. He's done that. He did that in Philly last month. So he's very capable. Embiid is very capable. You have to keep him off the free throw line. You cannot foul Embiid. He's very, very adept at getting himself to the line. They have 2 guys in Embiid and Lowry, both of them in their starting lineup, who are very crafty with their ability to draw fouls. We all know about what Kyle does. Takes charges, and he draws fouls, and he's very savvy. And you have to give that to Kyle. Whatever you say about Kyle, he's a very savvy, smart player. Embiid is very adept at selling contact and getting to the free throw line and flopping around. He's done that his whole career. So those two are going to try to use as much of that as they can to get themselves to the free throw line. Embiid and Bam is going to be very interesting. I need Bam to show up. Bam is going to be a big X factor in this series. And the Sixers, they are a team who they are very, very good at guarding jump shots. They have a very good three-point defense and a long mid-range jump shot defense. They are good at getting out to the shooters. So the Miami Heat will want to drive in and kick it out, but that will play right into the Sixers' hands. So you have to attack the rim and look to score. I'm looking at Terry Rozier if he plays. I'm looking at Jimmy Butler. I'm looking at Bam Adebayo. Instead of settling for long jump shots, because the Sixers want that to happen, you have to drive at their chest, get them into foul trouble. Besides Embiid, the Sixers don't really have any defensive stopper in their starting lineup. And Embiid is a good shot blocker, but again, there's no really elite defensive player. Kelly Oubre is solid. He's solid for sure. Nick Batum is okay, but Nick Batum's getting older. But again, they don't really have that defensive ace in that team who can kind of stay in front of people. Kyle Lowry, again, getting old. Maxi's not the best. Harris is not the best. So in that regard, you want to make sure you don't bail the Sixers out by taking a bunch of threes. And because that's what we did against, I forgot who we played against. It might have been Indiana. Or no, it might have been Dallas, because Dallas played us really well in that regard, where they made sure we just did not get to the paint and we had to just chuck up a bunch of threes, and we were missing everything against Dallas. So hopefully we learned our lesson from that and find a way to get into the paint and draw contact and get to the free throw line. You want to get Embiid in foul trouble. And yeah, you want to make sure that you are able to put pressure on the rim, because they are not a good at rim defense. They are a good three-point defense. They're a good jump shot defense, but they're not a good defense when they are being threatened at the basket. So that's when you want to, you know, exploit that. As far as shooting the ball, you will live with guys like Batum shooting threes and Kelly Oubre shooting threes. If they make it, they make it. Off the bench, they have guys like Cam Payne and Buddy Hield who can fill it up. Buddy Hield is a very good shooter who struggled in the game against Miami last time, but is still a very, very capable shooter. That will be interesting, you know, because the Heat are going to run zone. They're going to give up the three-point shot. Philly, it's going to be up to them to capitalize on that or not, but it's kind of pick your poison with Philly. You either rather get the ball out of Embiid and Maxi's hands, or you make sure you just stick with the shooters. I would much rather get the ball out of Embiid and Maxi's hands, because, again, apart from Buddy Hield, they don't really have any renowned three-point shooters on their team who are like certified snipers. Harris is capable. Oubre is capable. But, again, Lowry's capable. But again, they're not, you know, the capable, like they're the level of shooter that Duncan Robinson or Joe Harris or Seth Curry, like they're not that type of shooter. So because of that, I think the game plan is going to be limit drives and let them shoot threes and let them shoot contested ones. It's going to be the very similar game plan that the Sixers are going to run against them. So they should already be prepared for this. The Heat should be running zone in practice every single day. I trust that Spo will come up with a good game plan against the Sixers. I will go into in-depth matchups and in-depth details against this team in the next video before the matchup even happens. And we'll talk about, you know, who I think is a mismatch on the Sixers and who I think the Heat can actually get going in this game. I'm really encouraged by Jaime Jaquez getting his rhythm back, because going into the playoffs, you need players like that who will give you big games. But we'll see what happens, man. But this is the outcome. We play the Sixers on Wednesday. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And yeah, man, I'll see you later as always. Have a nice day. Peace.